Hey guys, so my name is Bubba. I'm going to be starting a vlog channel for me and my family. So I'm just gonna kind of, it's more, I've had a couple of friends and people who know me, not super well, but like on Facebook and stuff, like say that they would like to follow our journey of my son and me and my husband and our family. So I've been wanting to start a vlog for a long time. I know that a lot of people do this, and I'm not really expecting it to take off or anything, but it's more for me to like document our lives and I don't know, just something else to add to my crazy schedule of being a mom already. So, just a little bit about, yes, my name is legally Bubba. When I was born, I was named Kaylee. Bubba was a nickname my entire life. No one ever called me Kaylee. Ever, ever, ever. So when I was, how old was I? 21? We legally changed it to Bubba. It was just getting too confusing having two names and going by some places and one other places, and I was just sick of it, and I was not Kaylee. Like, I am Bubba. That's what everyone called me. Like, Kaylee was this, like, stranger's name. So, I got my name legally changed, after me and Cody got married, and I wish I would have done it when I was changing my last name legally to Cody's last name, because that would have been the logical thing to do, but I like to make things very difficult, and so I waited until after I did all that crap to get my last name changed. Anyways, I'm 23 years old. My husband's name is Cody, and here's his birthday. He's 25. We met when I was 17 and he was I don't know, we're like a year and a half apart, so he was I think he was 18. I was still in high school. He had graduated. Anyways, we met at Arby's where we worked, and he tried so hard. It feels so bad. Sorry, babe. He tried so hard to get with me well, not so hard. I don't want to make him seem desperate. He was not desperate. He tried for a couple weeks, and they found out that I already had a boyfriend. He was like, okay, sorry, whoa. But, so we worked together for like a year, and then I broke up with my boyfriend for Cody. Because Cody was just like, well, that's a whole nother story for a different day, but my ex-boyfriend was like legit crazy and jealous and accusing me of like cheating on him with Cody and like all this crazy stuff, and and one day I was like, you know what, I love him. And the day I went to go hang out with Cody, my mom was like, you're gonna marry that boy. And I was like, no, I'm not. I don't even like him. And then we started dating the next day. So anyways, that's how we met. And yeah, so we got married. I think I dated him for 3 years, and then we got married. Anyways, fast forward to today, we now have a 8.5-month-old baby named Carter, and we have 3 dogs. I know, I have a crazy life. Rocky, I've had him for almost 6 years. Felix, we've had for 2 years, and then Presley, we've had for about a year. They're crazy, and I'll do a video on the dogs too, but for now I'm kind of just like introducing us and like introducing our story with Carter, because that's kind of like, I mean, the vlog is going to be about like our family life, of course, and everything, but like it's going to be, a lot of it is going to be about Carter because he has a lot of medical issues, and I kind of am doing this to kind of like raise awareness about the disease that he has and just kind of like be more informative to people, because I feel like a lot of people, when you look at Carter, he is a very, very happy, healthy, normal boy. He really is. The only thing is that he can't poop. So, he has what is called Hirschsprung's disease. He was diagnosed at 3 days old, 3 or 4 days old, because it takes a couple days to do the testing. But, so I'm just going to be kind of like raising awareness about that and telling our story up to this point. And I feel like in order to do that, I have to tell you about how I got pregnant. Well, okay, whoa, I did not mean that. The story, I don't know how to say this without making it sound bad. The story about how we found out I was pregnant. So me and Cody had been married a year, and I surprised him with a surprise trip to Lava Hot Springs, which is like 3 hours from where we live. And like, I like contacted his work, and they made like a fake schedule, so it looked like he like was working, and like nothing was different. Like he thought he was gonna be working on our anniversary, and just like all this crazy stuff. It was really hard keeping a big secret like that from him. So anyways, I planned this whole trip out, and we went, we had everything packed, so we packed up and went, and when we were driving there, like, I just was kind of feeling a little off, like, my stomach was a little upset, and I was just like, whatever, like, cramps or something, I don't know, just feeling a little off, and I was like, whatever, it's fine, I'll just eat something, and hopefully I'll feel better. So we stopped at this little restaurant, we ate, and then that day when we got there, I had planned like a horse carriage ride, and the horses like take you up the mountain and on this trail, and then you have dinner up there. And I wasn't feeling too hot, but like I still ate because I thought, like, I don't know, maybe my stomach is just, I have hypoglycemia, so I was like, maybe I'm just hungry and my stomach needs food, and just all these things. So I decided I'm gonna eat, and we'll just we'll just take it from there. So we had a really fun time up there. Just wasn't feeling well, and so when we got back, Lava Hot Springs is like this tiny town. Like, I don't even know how to describe it if you haven't been there, but so they have one grocery store. So we went to the grocery store, I think, to get Cody some soda or something, and I was like, I'm just gonna get a pregnancy test. Like, I had taken them periodically, just because I'm paranoid, I guess, and I don't know, since I had an IUD and I wasn't getting a period, and so I was like, well, it doesn't hurt to check. So we got some Tums, some Sprite, and a pregnancy test. And so we go back to the hotel, and we had like a jacuzzi in our room, so we were just like doing random, like I didn't think I was pregnant, obviously, so I wasn't like in a super big rush. So a couple hours later I took it, and I was sitting on the toilet, and Cody was just lying on the bed, like, we were being casual because we're not pregnant, like it wasn't like I'm gaining weight, all these things, like we were just checking. So, sorry. So I take the test, and it came back positive. I literally fell to the floor on my knees with my pants around my ankles, crying. And Cody thought I was pulling this joke on him because I had just surprised him with this surprise vacation. We were only married for a year, and he was like funny. Like, he literally came in and was like, nice try. And then he saw that I was really crying, and he's like, oh my gosh. And he looks at the test, and he's like, well, it's like barely. You can like barely, and it wasn't like barely, but it wasn't like a full positive, you know? Like, it was kind of in between. And I was like, okay, but if it's a little bit, like, you're pregnant. And at this point, I had had my IUD in for 3 or 4 months. I think it was July. Okay, maybe 2 months. No, that July was when I got pregnant. I lied. I had it in for like 4 months. We'll just go with that. So I was like, something's going on because I have an IUD in, so I cannot be pregnant. I had the Skyla IUD. So at this point, I was like, no, not pregnant. But I knew I was at the same time, because it doesn't just come out positive when it's negative. So at this point, it was like 10 o'clock where we were, and this tiny town was all closed down. There was no grocery stores, and the closest one was like 40 miles away. So Cody didn't believe me, so I'm like, okay, drive me 40 miles away, and let's go to Walmart and get a pregnancy test. So we drive to Walmart, it's like 11 o'clock by the time we get there. The whole drive there, I'm like, I'm calling my mom, and Cody's like, no, your mom is going to drive 3.5 hours to come get you because if you tell her that you're pregnant, and we don't even know. He's like, let's wait till we get the pregnancy test. So I called Cody's mom, I'm bawling, I'm like, I'm not ready to have a kid, I'm too young, I'm only 22, like, what is wrong with, like, this is a joke. And I'm freaking out because I'm like, I've heard horror stories where like people get pregnant on IUDs and they have an ectopic pregnancy, or like the pregnancy gets affected in some way. So I'm just like, if you haven't had kids, you won't understand this, but like finding out you're pregnant when you're not planning to be pregnant, just a rush of all these emotions. Like every emotion that you can think of, we were experiencing. So we get to the Walmart and we buy a pregnancy test, and the women's bathroom is closed. So me and Cody walk into, and like this isn't like a one stall or like a one person bathroom. This was like with all the stalls and all the urinals, and I'm like, well, I'm going in. So me and Cody walk in, and he's standing in front of my stall, and I'm peeing on the thing, and it comes out positive. And so I walk out, I'm crying, I got pee all over my hands, all over my legs, you know, because I'm not very skilled with my pee. And we left, and there was like a hospital 10 minutes away, and I'm like, okay, take me to the hospital because I'm either gonna die or the baby's gonna die. Like, this is not okay. So we get there, and the lady at the hospital, like, I told her, like, the front desk lady, I was like, so I've taken 2 pregnancy tests, they're both positive, but I have an IUD. And she's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not really sure you're pregnant, like, something weird just might be going on, and, like, she's like, I can't really tell you, like, yes, you need to be seen, or, like, you'll be okay while you're on vacation and go when you're home. And that's what Cody wanted me to do. He's like, let's just wait till we get home, and, like, I'm like, no, I'm not waiting 2 or 3 days to find out if I am pregnant or not. We're doing this right now. So they take me back, draw my blood. The doctor was like, okay, I'm like 90% sure that you're not pregnant. Like, your hormones are, like, something is just off. Like, you're fine. So I'm like, okay. They draw my blood. Me and Cody are crying. Well, Cody wasn't crying, but I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not ready to be a mom. I'm going to school. I wanted to do all these things to our house and everything. And, the doctor comes in, and he looked like he saw a ghost. I think he was more shocked than me and Cody were. He said, yeah, you're pregnant. Your THC levels are showing that you're about 6 weeks along. And at that point, Cody was crying. And I'm just like thinking back to that moment right now, just how crazy and surreal it felt that, like, I was pregnant. We were actively trying not to have kids. We wanted to wait at least 2 or 3 years. Because I have my associate's degree, and I wanted to get my bachelor's before we had kids. So at that point, I called my mom. And at that point, it was like, I think it was like 2 in the morning. 2 or 3 in the morning. And I said, Mom, I was crying, and I said, Mom, I'm not joking, but I'm pregnant. And so then her and my sister were freaking out, and they're like, how does this happen? And I'm like, I don't really know a lot about it yet. We're trying to figure everything out. So I hung up with them, and they did like an ultrasound, and at that point it's too early to see a heartbeat. And so at this point, I feel like it was just really bad timing because, I guess, like, when we found out, because nobody was really sure with, like, my IUD situation, what was really going on, because they couldn't see a heartbeat, so they didn't know, I can't remember what it was called, but for a while they thought that, there wasn't actually an egg. I was just having this, I don't know what that is called, I sound like a crazy maniac, but they didn't know if there was actually a baby in there, because they couldn't see the heartbeat. I was too early to see anything like that, and I had an IUD in. So at this point, they're thinking, we don't know if it's ectopic, I can't say that word, but where it's like growing in your fallopian tube and not your actual uterus. And they said the chances of you having a miscarriage when we take out the IUD are very high. So basically, that day we found out, yeah, you're pregnant, but your baby's probably not going to make it. So me and Cody are like, okay, whoa, we're pregnant, we weren't expecting this, but wait, our baby's probably not going to make it? Like, what? Whoa. Like, you're having a baby, but it's probably gonna die. And we're like, oh my gosh. So we were just like bawling. So for whatever reason, they couldn't take out my IUD when I was in the ER. They had to have like an OB do it. So we went, and I take like trazodone to help me sleep. So we went back to the hotel and they said, yeah, don't take any of your medications until you find out like more. So I didn't sleep the entire night, and we drove up back to the next town over, and I got my IUD taken out, and it was just like crazy. I remember them telling me like, "Okay, you're probably gonna bleed, like you might have a miscarriage, like we can't really, at this point, like we have no idea what's gonna happen." And so I just remember feeling so sad and like confused and scared and like all these emotions of like, I just found out I'm having a baby, but I might not have a baby, and just like, it was just crazy. So I wanted to go home at that point. I was like, just take me home. Like, this is stupid. I don't want to be here. Like, I'm pregnant. We can't do anything. And Lava Hot Springs is known for like having you like float down this river on these tubes. And I was like, well, if I'm pregnant, I can't do that. And the doctor's like, no, you're fine. Just be really careful. Like, stay on the tube, that kind of thing. So we finished out our vacation. Tried to make the best of it. We got massages. We went out to dinner. We, did everything that I had planned. And then we came home, and I was just feeling like crap. Like complete and total crap. And at this point, like, I was kind of expecting that we were gonna have a miscarriage, and so was Cody. Like, just because I had an IUD in, that is not healthy, that is not safe, all of those things. And when we got home, I scheduled an appointment, and this is how naive I am. I scheduled an appointment with like a regular doctor. I thought it was an OB. Anyways, so we go to my doctor appointment like, I don't know, a day or two after we got home, and he's like, I'm a regular doctor, like, I don't know. And so at that point, I'm like, hey, I need to know if this is like a baby, if there's even a baby inside, if the baby is alive. Like, we had no answers. And so we were just left with like this feeling of like, you might be pregnant. Well, you are pregnant, but we don't know if there's a baby. We don't know if you are having a miscarriage, like all these things. So I was like, okay, we're going to the ER, and so they can check my HCG levels to see if they've increased, because if they've doubled, then I'm pregnant, because at that point it had been like a week, and that early on, your HCG needs to be doubling. So we went to the hospital, and they took my blood, and my mom was there, Cody was there. I was not feeling hot, and they took my blood, and the nurse came back, and she was so excited, and she said, yeah. And they did an ultrasound, and they said, yeah, there's a heartbeat. And your HCG levels have doubled. And this is really personal, but me and Cody were not prepared to have a baby. And it's not that we were hoping to have a miscarriage, but the doctors kind of told us that we were going to have a miscarriage. And so we thought that this was just kind of a fluke. Something was wrong. Like, and so we were both crying. Like, I am not ready to have a baby. This is crazy. Like, I had an IUD in. So, kind of tried to pick up the pieces. At that point, I was teaching, so I had the summer off. So I had the rest of the summer off. Well, it was August, so I only had a couple weeks off. I went back to work like normal. Cody went back to work like normal. We tried to just keep going. My pregnancy was healthy and normal. It was hard. Now that I've had Carter, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called perinatal depression and anxiety. My OB didn't catch on to it, but I had severe depression my entire pregnancy. I did not want to be pregnant. I did not want my baby, and I struggled a lot. And I didn't ever tell anyone. except for Cody towards the very end of my pregnancy, that I didn't want to be pregnant, because that's wrong. You're pregnant, you're carrying your own baby, and you don't want your baby, you don't want to be pregnant. Like, what is wrong with you? So I held those feelings inside almost until he was born. It was hard. I mean, I wasn't ready. I was trying not to have a baby, and I'm having a baby. So I worked all the way up until his due date was April 6th, and let me see if I can get this right. I worked until I worked till March 31st, and then, because that was a Friday, so then that Saturday, April Fool's Day, was laying in bed. I was gonna take a nap because Cody was at work, and I was super pregnant and super tired and super depressed, and I was laying in bed, and I felt like I peed my pants, and I like got up, and there wasn't that much like water, and so I was like, okay, like, I don't know, something, and I called my mom, and she was like, yeah, honey, your water just broke, and I was like, no, no, this baby's not coming yet. She's like, you need to go to the hospital. So I called Cody, and he's like, yeah, nice April Fool's joke. I'm like, this is happening. So I called the hospital, and they're like, yeah, if you're not, because I wasn't having any contractions. That's why I didn't think, like, if you're not having contractions, they're like, well, you can't eat after you get your epidural, so you and your husband go get some dinner, then come to the hospital. So we went to Zupa's, and I felt like, I just remember, like, looking at everyone. I'm like, do they know that I'm in labor? Like, guys, I'm having a baby, but I'm at Zupa's eating dinner. And I was just, like, looking at everyone. I'm in labor. Hey, I'm in labor. Like, just, like, excited and scared and all these things. So I go to the hospital, and they, like, have to test your fluid to make sure it's amniotic fluid. Because if not, they were going to send me home because I wasn't having contractions. And it was. But I wasn't having any contractions, I wasn't dilated at all, and my cervix was completely closed. So, like, I was not really having a baby, but my water broke. So, after 24 hours of if your water has broken, you're not having contractions, you're at higher risk for infection, and so is the baby. So they wanted to keep me. They gave me some medicine to induce labor. It was late at night. It was like 7 or 8 when my water broke, so my family came, and then they were like, yeah, she's not gonna have this baby tonight. So everyone went home, and me and Cody slept, kind of. They started me on some oral medicine, I don't remember what it was called, not Pitocin, I know that. The next morning they came in to check me, and I was dilated to a 1. Then my contractions started, and I was like, oh, this feels like cramps. This is not very fun. So I was dilated to a 1. I was like, cool. They started me on Pitocin. I think like 6 hours later, I was a 3. And that's when they gave me my epidural. I don't even know, guys. This is all a blur. I was a 3 or a 4 when they gave me my epidural. That was the worst part. I feel like I'm a pretty strong, I mean, I'm a baby when it comes to needles, but I feel like I'm a pretty strong person. That's the only time I cried, is when I got my epidural. Because it's a big needle. Nah, I don't do needles. I don't do blood. Anyways, they gave me my epidural, started me on Pitocin, and like 6 hours later, I had like dilated 1 more inch. So I was like, cool. And they're like, yeah, this baby's probably not coming today. It's probably coming tomorrow. So like my whole family came, Cody's whole family came, and we were all just sitting around talking and laughing and doing all, just, and even though I had my epidural, like, I just was having, like, I could still feel my contractions. I was having back labor, so it was really bad. And everyone was there, and I called Cody over because I was embarrassed, and I was like, I'm gonna poop. And he's like, what? And I'm like, okay, like, I have to poop right now. I was like, everyone needs to get out. Go get the nurse and tell her I have to poop. And the nurse is like, oh, honey, no, that's the baby's head. And I was like, okay, well, I'm either gonna poop or the baby's gonna come out, so you gotta. And she's like, honey, I just checked you. You were at 4. And I was like, okay, well, can you check me again? And she was like, I mean, I can, but nothing. She checks me. I'm a 10, and she's like, you need to start pushing. In like 30 minutes, I went from a 4 to a 10. So they call the doctor, and at that point, like, I feel like my entire pregnancy I was like, just get this baby out of me. And when they told me like, you're gonna start pushing, I was like, I started crying and I was like, Mom, I'm not ready to push. This baby needs to stay in me long. So, we started pushing. I think I only pushed for about 45 minutes. It wasn't that, it was tiring. I felt like it was gonna be worse than it actually was. I was actually just scared because I was like pushing, but I was like, I don't want this baby to come out of me. I remember thinking that. When Carter was born, the cord was wrapped around his neck and he wasn't crying. So they take the baby out, and initially, I didn't even know the cord was wrapped around his neck. No one told me that until like 2 weeks after he was born. Okay, so I had no idea, but he wasn't crying, and so I was like, yo, and like Cody and my mom and my sister were all over there with him, and all the nurses and everything were looking at Carter, and the doctor was helping me deliver the placenta, and I was like, no one was listening to me. I'm like, guys, is he okay? Guys, and they were all just looking at him. So I looked at my doctor and I was like, I need you to tell me, is my baby alive? And they're like, yeah, he's fine. And I was like, well, why isn't he crying? And they're like, some babies just don't cry. Like, I'm serious. He didn't cry at all. He was just like, hey guys, I'm here. Hi world. So they stitched me up and everything, and yeah, so I had like a pretty smooth delivery, I would say. Like, nothing crazy happened, or like I didn't lose an excessive amount of blood or anything, and everything was normal. Like, Carter was normal, he was breathing fine, all these things. All my family and friends came to visit and see him because I gave birth at like 7:51 at night. So everyone came to see. He was born on April 2nd of 2017, and we went to bed. They took him to the nursery, and they're like, I know some people are against that, but I was like, I just gave birth. You can take him to the nursery. I'm fine. And like, when I gave birth, he latched for like a couple minutes and ate a little bit, but that was it. And so the next morning they came in and said his blood sugar had dropped in the middle of the night, and so they had to give him formula. And I was like, no, he's not gonna breastfeed now. Like, he can't have formula. I was that mom. And they were like, it's okay, we just need to get his blood sugar up. And so me and Cody we had him that day, and he was making like little like noises, and I was like, oh, he's cooing. Me and Cody, I mean, we hadn't had a baby, so we were like, oh, he's just making little baby noises. Then the lactation therapist came, and he wouldn't latch, and I thought that was really weird because he had latched really good after I'd given birth to him. And so then we actually got some breast milk and put it in a spoon, and they were trying to shove it, and he like would not take it. Like, he was like, no, you are not giving me food. I'm not drinking this milk. Are you muddy, Rocky? No, just wet. Okay. So, I think it was like 20 or 30 minutes later, he threw up. And I told, my dad was there and my sister was there, but they weren't in the room. They were going to get me food or something. And so me and Cody were like, he threw up. And the nurses were like, oh no, that's spit up. And I was like, no, there was a lot. Like, he threw up. And so, and I think at that point it had been like 22 or 23 hours after he was I gave birth, and he hadn't pooped at that point, and so they were getting worried. He was throwing up, he's not eating, and he's not pooping. So they took him down to the NICU, and me and Cody were really scared. They're like, yeah, something's going on, we need to take him. And so we were going down there, and as soon as we get there, they're like, okay, so we're taking him by ambulance to the children's hospital, primary children's hospital. And me and Cody are like, whoa, you just took him to the NICU, like, what's going on? And they're like, well, something's going on. And so I'm sitting there crying, holding Carter as the paramedics are coming in, and this was the worst part of it. They had this huge stretcher, not huge, but like a normal size stretcher, and with a tiny little baby and a little incubator on it. And since I had only given birth like 20 hours before, I couldn't be discharged. So Cody went with him, and I'm crying and bawling. I'm by myself. My mom was coming to the hospital to pick me up, and they were going to try and get me discharged as soon as they could so I could go up with Carter. They got me discharged, and me and my mom were driving up there, and Cody and Carter got there safe. And they were just kind of running some tests and keeping an eye on him, basically. They didn't know what was going on at that point, but they knew something was going on. So the next couple of days, they were running tests and just trying to figure out what was going on, and I remember getting there. I had just given birth. I was in a wheelchair, I was in the emergency room, and I'm like, my baby just got here by ambulance, and I was crying, and I was in so much pain, and we finally found him, and they were just running some tests for a couple of days. They did a couple biopsies. He had to get IVs because he wasn't eating and his blood sugar was dropping. Not fun. Having a baby in the NICU. And my baby was only there for 6 days. So I can't imagine these parents that are there for 3-4 months, even up to a year. Some babies are there. So they did some biopsies, and they were telling us that it's a possibility he might have Hirschsprung's disease. And we're like, okay, what's that? We had never heard about it, we had no idea what it was, never knew anyone that had it. And then when he was 3 or 4 days old, he got officially diagnosed with it. So Hirschsprung's disease, to put it simply, is a disease where part of your colon does not work. So basically what happens is, like a normal colon, your colon will open up and retract? Yeah, that's the word. And that's how it pushes your poop through. Well, there comes a point in Carter's colon where the push is getting pooped. The push is getting pooped, guys. Your poop is getting pushed through your colon, and that dead section will not open. So this is his dead section, and his regular colon just gets distended and descended because it can't get past that spot. That's what Hirschsprung's is. Sometimes it can be a little dead section, sometimes it can be a big dead section, just depends on the case. So they were planning on having his surgery 2 months down the lines. We were able to take him home. We had to do rectal irrigations 3 times a day. So me and Cody had to learn how to do those, and then we were able to bring him home. Normal, happy, healthy baby, other than the fact he could not poop. So we started waiting for his surgery day. We had countdowns. We were really excited, really hopeful. The doctors there were very confident and hopeful, like, yeah, we're going to cut out this dead section, pull the rest of his colon through. Good as new. June 23rd, 2017, he had his surgery. They took out 21 centimeters, which is a little over 8 inches of his colon. That's the dead section that they found. And they told us, you're going to have to do irrigations for a couple more weeks while you let his colon heal, and then he'll poop and he'll be good as new. He pooped for a couple weeks, and then he stopped pooping. And we just kept doing irrigations, and we kept taking him to his appointments, and they said everything is healed fine, everything looks great, like, just give it some time, keep doing the irrigations. Months went by. Months. Carter is now, he's 8.5 months, still can't poop on his own. The doctors here in Utah tell me to not worry, keep doing irrigations, everything looks fine. As a mom, why do you have surgery then? They won't give me any answers, they won't run any tests, they don't think anything's wrong. So I'm on this page on Facebook called Hirschsprung's Help or something like that. It's like a page where parents can go if their kids have Hirschsprung's and can talk to each other, ask for advice, that kind of thing. And I had just been reading through this page, and everyone kept telling us about this doctor in Ohio, and that's all he does is Hirschsprung's kids. He specializes in kids with Hirschsprung's. So I'm like, okay, we're going to Ohio. We have an appointment January 23rd. They're going to run a bunch of tests just like they did in the beginning. At this point, we are planning on having another surgery, even though it hasn't been confirmed. What can happen is they could have missed a section of dead colon, so that's what we're planning on. Hopefully they can give you Botox and that can help relax your colon so you can poop, but he's almost 6 months post-surgery. There's no reason he shouldn't be pooping on his own unless the surgery didn't go as planned or if there's still a part of dead section in him. So that's where we are right now. This video is 35 minutes long, so I will make more videos about this, but basically that's an update on kind of to get to know us, our first video. Carter's asleep right now and Cody's at work, but Carter's a very happy boy 95% of the time. People ask me, well, like, how does he poop? Like, yeah, I have to help him poop with a catheter, put it up his butt, push saline in, and then it flows back out. So we do that depending on him. Like, we check his belly throughout the day. If it's hard or really distended and big, he needs an irrigation. Roughly right now we're doing like 2 to 3. Sometimes we do 3 to 4, just depends on the day. But yeah, that's my family. That's what we're going through, and it sucks. It's not easy. I'm having a really hard time. I'm going into a deep depression right now. I'm trying to pull myself out of it, but I'm exhausted. Carter's used to it. Rocky, do not bark. Please do not bark. He's asleep. That's the only way he's ever pooped, so it doesn't hurt him. It's not a painful thing for an irrigation. He might be feel uncomfortable when he has to poop, but we try and stay on top of it as much as we can. But it's just been wearing on me to watch your kid have to do that and be reminded 3 or 4 times a day that your kid, you know, there is something wrong and he isn't completely healthy. It's hard. Yeah, but that's a whole nother topic. But that's my family, and I'll be posting more videos, and I'll post videos of Cody and Carter and all our dogs and what we go through on a daily basis. And yeah, so thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.